distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fourth Estate, my colleagues, good morning. Good to see all of you, and I'd like to officially welcome you on the established protocols to the African Regional Preparatory Meeting towards the United Nations Food System Summit, the fourth one that is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, more than ever before, we are faced with the reality of climate change and how it's affecting how we feed our citizens. More than ever before, there's a clarion call towards food sovereignty and food security. And this, among so many other reasons, are why we are here today to discuss and forge ways forward and to see sustainable ways of making sure that our countries are food sovereign and done in a sustainable way. And most importantly, also to look at how we are adapting to realities of our time right now, like climate change.
4 years ago, the global community came together under the banner of the UNFSS to confront a stark reality. Our food systems are deeply intertwined with the most pressing challenges of our time: climate change, poverty, nutrition, and inequality. For Africa, this reality is not just a matter of policy but survival.
Over the next 3 days, we have a unique opportunity to develop an African position for the UNFS +4, a position that showcases your successes, lessons learned, but also highlights the challenges ahead.
We're really anxious to harvest the wisdom of the continent in this meeting so that we then go to Addis with a common position and a loud and insistent voice that says Africa is ready to put transformed food systems at the service of itself and of the world for the good and, yes, for the profit of everybody.
As a person in the finance sector and a business reporter, financing is at the core and a pet subject for me. And one of the recent things that has happened in financing, as Dr. Jackson spoke earlier on here, I couldn't help but reminisce just how much WFP, as one of the many agencies or programs around the United Nations, has successfully negotiated in the just completed spring meeting at the World Bank. They've just successfully negotiated a debt for food security swap. If you understand the structures around sovereign debt, then you'd know that debt swap is one of the options for repayment of either bilateral or debt that is owed towards Bretton Woods institution, in this sense either IMF or the World Bank. And so for me, when Dr. Jackson was speaking about financing the food sector and financing particularly towards school feeding programs, I reminisced about that. And the reason why I'm bringing out this is because, once again, as a business reporter, as somebody in the finance sector, I have watched closely and followed the proceedings of CADEP, post-Malabo Declaration and the like. Part of those commitments were at least African governments to commit at least 10% of their annual budgets towards development of agriculture, food systems, irrigation, and the like. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me so much pleasure. Perhaps this next speaker will talk about this and so much more. Allow me now to invite to the stage Ms. Esterine Fotabong, Director of Programs, Implementation and Coordination at the NEPAD Planning and Coordinating Agency, or the NEPAD. Most welcome.
Transforming Africa food system will require an estimated $100 billion in public and private investment by 2035. To realize this, we must mobilize climate-sensitive and inclusive financing that prioritizes smallholders and de-risk investment through concessional funding and risk-sharing facility.
It's time for urgent and bold action. We are 5 years away from 2030, and Africa is not on track to meet its food security and nutrition targets of the Sustainable Development Goals or the Malabo targets on ending hunger and all forms of malnutrition.
It's very important that in engagements we speak to each other and we speak to the ministries, market the ideas we get from forums like this one, because by so doing, we felt that coordination is much better.
The African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, in close partnership with the African Union Commission, has played a central role in coordinating the African voice.
I'd like to tell you a story of resilience, a story of grit, literally, a story of children, some having been rescued from early marriages to come and be part of a bigger conversation about food security and to pull their part. Ladies and gentlemen, the students or the pupils I'm about to introduce to you are from the Rift Valley of Kenya. They come from Baringo County and they weathered the tough weathers, the insecurity once again, and the volatility in that region to be here with us today. They're about to give us a presentation. They are called the Juhudi 4K Club of St. Luke's, Kasitet Primary School, Tiati Sub-County in Baringo. What makes their story unique is how resilient they have been to be able to join us here today in a United Nations Convention. Ladies and gentlemen, those beautiful boys and girls who you're seeing dressed in yellow are joining us to do us a number here. But as they come, please let us appreciate them and congratulate them for being resilient enough.
Let us hold each other accountable, share knowledge freely, and stand in solidarity with the smallholder farmers, women, and youth who are the true heroes of our food systems.
I'm really excited that Kenya is hosting this meeting. I think there are extraordinary things being done within food systems transformation.